Hello, Rob.
Hey, what's up, Mike?
How
What's up, buddy? How's
you doing, buddy? I'm doing good. Doing good. Just getting this podcast together today. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah, it's gonna be a real good one. So today, this is the Rockshow 68,
Wow.
and we're talking about GG Allin,
Yes.
original name Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ, Allen. Yeah.
How fucking crazy was that?
Yeah, that is crazy. His father gave him that name. We'll go into that. Um, I just want to say, 30 years later, I mean, he's been dead since 1993, so it's 27 years this year. This guy is still, to this day, just infamous on the Lower East Side. Okay, you meet so many people in the bars and stuff that saw him or know about him, or it comes up in conversation in so many. I mean, it's amazing that this guy could still be so controversial, and he's been gone for so long. I think he's bigger now than he ever was. What do you
Dude,
think?
it's crazy, man. Like,
Yeah,
but you know what? If the guy had, like, let me tell you, the guy, he wasn't the brightest guy. If he could put two and two together, that guy could have fucking ruled the world in a real fucked up way.
I don't think he was stupid. I think he just, unfortunately, he was drug addicted. He had alcohol problems, obviously some mental issues, I guess. But the thing is he took what people would call performance art to a whole other fucking level that nobody ever did.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, I can't, I can't condone the violence that he did, and the violence of his shows, the fans and stuff like that. But I will say that he was probably one of the most real fucking people that you'd ever see perform. Because that was just him in his fucking raw form. You agree?
Yeah, Mike, let me ask you a question. You think if
Yeah.
he would have lived long enough, he would have finally to commit suicide on Halloween?
He kept being in jail every time that was going to happen. I remember, yeah. I mean, he talked about sticking a stick of dynamite up his ass and blowing himself up on stage. That's one of the reasons I didn't go see him the last time. I was supposed to be at that last show, and I didn't go.
Dude, that guy is so weird, man. Like,
Oh
you
yeah,
know what he did it off Avenue B, that gas light,
the
whatever,
gas
gas
station on
station?
Second Street. Yeah.
And when you look at him, he's walking by the old Pyramid Bar,
Yep.
by the old bank,
Yep.
and all
Yep.
those places, and he just left with the wrong kind of people, man. But dude, the guy, let me tell you, the guy had issues. And I
Oh,
think it's straight from I think he just lived a very abusive young childhood.
well, we'll go into that in a minute. His father was abusive for a very long time. Okay, and something must have happened to him probably around high school that he just started to cross dress, but it was all, he was based. He was into music. He was into rock and roll. That was working for him, and he got that career going. He was in a lot of bands, right?
Yeah, you know what it reminded me of? That he was like he was like a shock jock almost, like a shock DJ, but he was a shock rock
You
guy.
mean like a shock rocker, like Alice Cooper or something like that?
Yeah, but he was like beyond, because the whole thing with
Nice.
the shit, with the stuff.
Everything with him was to the beyond. Okay, but he wanted to
Dude,
put
and the guy
change
suffered from a micro peanut.
He what?
He had a micro peanut.
Yeah, I want to talk about Gigi's dick. Okay.
That was horrible. I said, "What the fuck am I watching?" And there were
God.
dudes sucking it, and dude, he was a weird fucking motherfucker.
He was a crazy fucker, man.
Holy shit!
Totally. I mean, think about it. I've been to hundreds, if not 1,000, fucking shows in my life. Okay, and GG Allin to this day will be the only band, person I ever saw, and I did see him twice. Okay, that I was like afraid for my life. All right, because the famous concert that he did at Space at Chase, which is now Bar None, where you work.
Yeah, that's bar none. A lot of people
Yeah.
don't realize. I was watching footage. I say, yeah, it hasn't changed much. It still looks the same in the back.
Yeah, it still looks the same in the back. But I was at that show, and I was like in a corner trying to avoid, shit thrown at me, and he was hitting a lot of people with his shit that night. But I mean, that was in I think it was in 91. I think it was pretty much.
Dude, but
Yeah,
that show only lasted like 3 songs before he got shut
yeah,
down.
yeah. Because what happened was the shows would get shut down because he would make an arrangement, I think, where it was like, if you get naked, we're shutting down the show. But then he would get naked, you know?
Yeah. But he started like he would play drums for a while. He also played
Yeah.
bass. Like he was very.
Yeah, no. He was musically inclined. Okay. Both him and his brother Merle, his older brother.
Yeah.
But let's get into the meat and potatoes here, okay?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's start this one.
All right. GG Allin was born August 29th, 1956, and his real name, birth name, was Jesus Christ Allin. Okay. Now, his parents were Merle Colby Allin Sr. and Arletta Allin. Okay. Uh,
Yeah.
his father insisted on his name being Jesus Christ. Okay. Because he said that he had a vision that Christ spoke to him and said that your son is going to be huge in the world. He's going to make a difference and that he's going to be big like a Messiah.
Think about it. He
Kind of
was so
got,
bad at.
he
Dude,
kind
they
of
had to
was.
take the tombstone because people were shitting and
Oh, yeah.
fucking peeing on the tombstone. It was brutal. They had to take it off.
Definitely. I know. And that would be many years later. But I mean, think about it. You're born with the name Jesus Christ. That's just a curse.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now, his older brother, Merle, his name was Merle also. When Gigi was born, he was young too, and he couldn't pronounce Jesus. He couldn't
Yeah.
say G. So he said Gigi, and that's how he got the name Gigi. Now,
Yeah.
Merle Sr., the father, was abusive, okay? And he was a religious nut. He forced the family to live in a log cabin in New Hampshire. They had no running water and no electricity. And what they used to do is the father would make them dig graves in the basement, okay? Just dig holes. He called them graves. And this went on for the first like 5-6 years of Gigi's life, okay? And Merle was actually there a little bit longer, okay? So, what kind of life is that? If you watch that documentary, GG Allin, the All in the Family one,
Yeah.
they talk about how they didn't even know. Merle talks about how they didn't even know what the outside world was like. Okay, until the parents got divorced. Now, Gigi always said that he thought his father wanted to kill his family in kind of like a murder-suicide type thing.
I think the father even told him he was going to do that.
Yeah, he like would threaten them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it must have been a horrible life for the first few years of his life. But in 1961, his mother, Arletta, would divorce Merle, and basically based on like mental instability, and they would resettle in East Street in Johnsbury, Vermont. And by 1966, she had remarried, and there was like a little bit more normalcy going on in their lives.
Yeah.
But she would then change her son's name from Jesus Christ to Kevin Michael Allin, and that would happen on March 2nd, 1962, during his first year in school.
Mike,
And
you want to hear something crazy about that?
what?
Kevin and Gigi were not the same person.
What do you mean?
I think he had like a dual personality.
Yeah, it's possible. Okay, yeah. I mean, there's traumatic things that could happen to people, and at certain times in their life, they could change. And there's personality disorders developed based on those old traumas. I mean, that's a mental health thing.
Because you know what? She was actually in that documentary on the family. She was showing this is a letter for Kevin, and then this is a letter for GG Allin. It was almost like 2 different people writing the fucking letter.
Well, I'm sure you talk to your mother differently than you do everybody else, right, Rob?
Yeah, but I mean letters that he would send her. He would send her letters as GG Allin, then he would send her letters, which was fucking weird.
Yeah, just from Kevin.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah, look, I mean, he knew he was taking on some kind of persona. You know what I mean? I guess he wasn't going to write to his mother as Gigi.
Yeah.
But he wasn't a good student in school. He had a lot of problems in school. He would actually be left back in third grade. Merle has often said that Gigi was bullied as a kid, okay, just for just being different. All right. And by the time he was in high school, he started cross dressing. And he
Yeah.
was, what he said was, he's like, I love the New York Dolls. And
Yeah.
that was like 73, 74. I love the New York Dolls. I'm going to dress like them. Okay. That's what he was doing. I mean, there's some pictures of him from high school in like a wig and, all kinds of shit dress.
Yeah.
All shit, Now, music had become a focal point in his life and in Merle's life at that point.
Yeah.
Some of the obvious stuff like the Beatles and the Stones were influences, but then they both got into things like Alice Cooper, Kiss, and the emerging punk scene that was started
Dude,
in the mid.
they even list Aerosmith.
Yeah. Well, look, when a lot of people still love early Aerosmith, 73, 74 Aerosmith. I mean, it's different. It's better than the shit they've done in the last 30 years.
Oh man.
Okay. Aerosmith is I don't know. I was never big on them. I like some early songs, but not enough to even get a greatest hits, to be honest with you.
Yeah, you're right.
Fuck them. I mean, they're, and the songs that they play on the radio that have been their hits for years are just horrible. Can't listen to that. So they were into music. Big on the Stooges, the Ramones, the emerging punk scene in the mid '70s. When he graduated high school in 1975, right away after graduating, he started a band called Malpractice.
Yeah.
His brother Merle was in the band. Merle played bass. And there was some local musicians that they knew, like Jeff Penny and a guy named Brian Demers that he had gone to school with. Now, Gigi played drums in this band.
Yep.
That went on for about 2 years, and in '77, Malpractice broke up. But right away, he became the drummer in a band called Strip Search, and they actually had 2 singles, a song called Galileo and a song called Jesus Over New York.
Yep.
Now, the singer, it was a female singer named Emily XYZ. She was a kind of a poet and performance artist. It's funny in the research of the show, I looked up these songs because I don't know if I'd ever heard them before. They're pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
Actually, I thought so. Yeah. Kind of like straight ahead rock and roll, a little bit of a punk influence, but nothing crazy. But between 77 and 84, Gigi was a front man for a band called the Jabbers. Okay. And he would have sometimes multiple bands going on at the same time. He had that a lot of times over the years. But by 1980, he released his first album called Always Was, Is, and Always Shall Be. Okay.
Yep.
On a label called Orange Records. Now, when you listen to this, if you're only familiar with the later stuff by Gigi, you're going to be kind of shocked. Because first of all, his voice isn't bad. His voice isn't shot. Okay, it's like he could sing a little bit. It's almost a power pop.
Yeah, it is a power pop.
Yeah, it's not very. It's definitely punk influenced, rock. Kind of Stooges influenced, but there's also a pop element to the album that's like very interesting. He had good vocal chops, I thought. When he was younger, he could actually sing a little bit. But as he got older, everything deteriorated as he started to abuse himself and everybody else.
Yeah.
If you listen to it, like I said, you could hear a little bit of Stooges, a little bit of Dolls in there. Some of the tracks, there was a song called Bored to Death, a song called Beat Beat Beat, a song called Ass Face, a song called Cherie Love Affair, Unpredictable, and then there was a track called 1980s Rock and Roll where he kind of bitches about music and stuff.
Yeah.
Now, Genya Raven was his manager, and Genya was popular on the New York scene because she produced the Dead Boys' first album, Young, Loud, and Snotty, and she was very well known on the scene. She was kind of managing him, all right, but the tensions in that band were too much, and by 1984, everybody would like part their ways because Gigi was starting to get really out of control. and kind of change. There was a change in the way he was performing. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he was starting to get more nihilistic, more dangerous, more unpredictable.
Yeah.
Okay. And he did have some multiple bands at this point around 84, 85. There was GG Allin and the Scumfucks, GG Allin and the Cedar Street Sluts. There was a band called the Texas Nazis he had. He would be, nobody knew what to make of this guy, especially when the performances started to change and become more violent. If you listen to that first album, you could put him in kind of a punk category.
Yeah.
But by the time he started to be really crazy on stage, they were kind of lumping him in with the punk hardcore scene. But he wasn't really part of that. One thing that I used to do when I first heard of, I think the first time I ever heard of him was through Maximum Rock and Roll magazine. Do you remember that magazine?
Yeah, that's like 100 years old.
Yeah, well, it was a almost like a newspaper. Okay, it was it came out like every month. It was black and white like a newspaper, but it had the whole punk scene in the world, what was going on, especially in the United States. Okay, and there would be everything from, people used to trade cassettes back in the day. I used to do that. Okay?
It was almost like Screw Magazine, but Screw Magazine was for porno, and Max was like for music.
for punk,
Yeah.
and a lot of the hardcore scene. And, there would be articles about this Gigi guy. I must have been about 16 years old or something. And I'm thinking, like, who is this fucking guy that's, going crazy on stage and stuff, What would happen is in 1987, Raw Records, which was Reach Out International Records, they put out a cassette-only release of Hated in the Nation, okay? And it was kind of like, it was cool because this is the first thing I think I ever bought from him.
Wow.
It had, and I remember that, the Raw used to have a rack of all their cassette-only releases at Tower, okay, on 4th Street. It would be like the Raw section, and you could just look at whatever Reach Out International was putting out. Richard Hell was always on it, and GG and Johnny Thunders, and like a lot of, all underground music was on that label.
Yep.
And they put out this thing called Hated in the Nation. And it was a compilation of a lot of stuff that you just couldn't find anymore. Stuff that I had read about in Maximum Rock and Roll, singles or albums that he had done with different bands. But you could never find these records. They were very hard to find. Sometimes you might get lucky, you find something in the West Village and some of the record stores that used to be there. But, and then when he came around, I remember there was a few times I was too young to get in. There was no way I was going to make it. I was like 16, it wasn't going to happen. But Maximum Rock and Roll kind of promoted him. And there was a guy that worked for Maximum called Michael Board. And he actually produced that album, that Hated in the Album. He put that together. And there's some songs on there that are like studio songs that were new. And he had like an all-star cast of people playing with GG, including Jay Massix from Dinosaur Jr. Yeah. So, I remember when that came out, it was like very interesting. You had like some of the older stuff and then some kind of the newest stuff that he was doing, which was very nihilistic, very primitive. But by 1985, again, once that he changed his sound, the shows really started to get insane. And he had a bad heroin habit at that point, an alcohol problem. And there was a show that he did in Peoria, Illinois in 1985. What he had done, he must have made a conscious effort at that, conscious decision at that point that I'm going to start shitting on stage.
Yeah, that was.
All right. I mean, I don't know. Excuse me. I don't know, how you make that decision. Okay. Like tonight, I'm going to go up and I'm going to shit on stage. But he did. And he had taken some X-Lax a couple hours before the show. Okay. And when he got on stage, he let it out right there on stage in front of all the kids. Okay. And the club went fucking ape
Yeah, it was
shit.
pandemonium.
And
The smell was
yeah,
so
yeah, yeah. I
horrible.
mean, a riot. Yeah, yeah. The kids were running out because the smell was so bad, and the club owners were trying to stop him from doing what he was doing. But then he started wrecking the place, and there was just no fucking way the show could continue. But people were running out of there, trampling over each other, trying to get away from the smell.
Dude, let me question. After that kind of shit, why would anybody even book him?
Well, that was the problem. That was the problem, Rob, because he would have tours set up, and these things would get canceled, or they would always be. I think he would kind of like just trick these owners because they had to ask him, like, okay, are you going to shit on stage tonight? And he would probably go no, and then he would go and do it. So I mean, yeah. Well, I always thought that was crazy too. Like, why would you have a club and book him? You should ask Bob how that went
I know
down.
because me, like even there, he only played 3 songs in Space at Chase, and
I think it was,
he was out of
yeah,
there.
I think it was two. Yeah, I remember like if I was there a half an hour for the whole thing, even waiting for him to go on, it was a lot. Once it was pandemonium because he ran out in front of the fucking place. He ran into the front there of Bar None, Space at Chase. That was fucking
And
crazy.
you know what's crazy? Okay? That performance, he pretty much was avoiding his parole. It was like like running from my parole tour.
Yeah, no, he got out of jail. We'll go into that in a minute. What happened to him? But he got out of jail and just went right on tour. But one thing that a lot of people don't know about GG is that he was a big country music fan. Okay, and he idolized Hank Williams.
Yeah, he loved Hank Williams.
Yeah. There's pictures of him, I believe, at Hank Williams' gravesite. Okay, and he related to the whole outlaw life that Hank Williams had. Both of them were kind of like loner types. They abused alcohol and drugs, and he kind of related to him. But one thing too is that Hank Williams toured relentlessly, and so did Gigi
too. Yeah,
and maybe he didn't know. Yeah, Gigi toured relentlessly. Maybe not always getting the shows in, but he was always out there. He would do covers of Hank Williams Jr.'s Family Tradition. He would cover David Allan Coe's Longhaired Redneck, and one of my favorite. It's probably like my second favorite GG album is the country one that came out in '96 after he had died, called Carnival of Excess. It's like a country tinged acoustic album, okay? And it sounds crazy because if you just only know a little bit about GG Allin and what he was about, you'd be shocked that he even did something like this. But he had wanted to change. There was discussion in his circles that he wanted to change his sound by the time he died, and it just never. It never.
Yeah, but the guy was so out of control. They got dude. Did you see that one scene in Hater where he like they let him do something at NYU that he just loses his mind?
Right.
He starts throwing.
Yeah, he would do spoken word stuff sometimes. Okay, and a lot of punk guys have done this, like Henry Rollins has done spoken word tours. Jello Biafra from Dead Kennedys, they've done it, and Gigi did it. And yeah, I mean, if you watch that, he's just ripping into them, and then he throw a bottle at somebody or something, okay, and they jump him and everything. Yeah, I mean his performance art was dangerous.
It was very dangerous, man.
You could get hurt at a GG Allin show, either whether it was spoken word or with the music, you could get hurt, and it was really, I mean, you could just dismiss it as being sick and disgusting and whatever. But, when rock and roll, I will say this, the best rock and roll there ever is from the 1950s to now is always the most dangerous stuff.
Of course.
Well, that's the essence of it. So, again, I don't condone violence. I don't want to see anybody get fucking hurt. And Gigi did some crazy shit to people.
he would beat up the audience.
Yeah. Throw the mic stand at you. Okay. But, if you watch a lot of those shows, most people aren't even close to the stage because they know what's coming. He was absolutely nuts. Now, in 1988, he started working with a band called Bulge. Okay. And they came out with this album. This is a great album. It's called Freaks, Faggots, Drunks,
that's
Junkies.
a lot of good songs to that album.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. Think that one has Outlaw Scumfuck on. I love that song. There's a whole bunch of others on there. Needle in My Dick. There's all like crazy fucking songs. But he was also working with a band called the AIDS Brigade and a band called the Holy Men. And they had put out a 7-inch called Expose Yourself to Kids. And then they came out with an album with the Holy Men called You Give Love a Bad Name. And I always thought that was funny because in '87, what was the fucking
Bon Jovi?
Yeah, except that's not. Gigi had the same name of an album, but
You Give Love a Bad Name.
Yeah, that's funny. I wonder if he was trying to, just piss people off by naming his album that song.
He probably
was. He was. It
but
had to be.
You know what's right? Like the people that follow him, some of the people that was following him, and even some of the band members said they weren't the smartest people.
Well,
like me, he would get a very rough crowd, and they were to the point. Some of these guys that follow us are even losers because they were just the very wrong crowd.
Gigi, to this day, and he's dead. Okay, he still attracts the troubled people, the people that are disenfranchised from society. They don't fit in. People with mental problems, but they're just kind of lost. Okay. And his, I don't condone it, but it serves a purpose. At least if you're listening to his stuff, you're not out
but
there.
You know what? He's people. Like a fallen angel that said, I'm going to take the worst people and I'm going to guide them to greatness.
Yeah. Well, did you watch any of the clips of him on like Geraldo?
Oh yeah, I saw him on he was on Geraldo. Yeah. He was even on Jerry. He did all those talk shows, man.
Yeah, Jerry Springer, and then there was that Jane Whitney show that was on for a minute that had him on. And that one is actually interesting because that was the last interview he ever did, or TV appearance I think that he had ever done. It was right.
Dude, how about his brother Merle with that Hitler mustache?
Listen, I'll tell you a little funny story. Back in like 90, maybe, I answered an ad in the back of Maximum Rock and Roll. Okay, it was a guy that was advertising that he had bootlegs of the Ramones on videotape, and he had some shows that I was interested in. And a couple of shows upstate, like in Buffalo, and there was a couple other things I think he had. And he had some really early footage of them, like playing in a studio, and a bunch of other stuff. Some of this stuff would be released many years later, but at that time, you couldn't find this stuff. It was impossible to find. So he had them, and he was and I didn't know it was him. Okay, but I answered the ad, and he says, I call him up, and he's like, yeah, come down to this address on Mulberry Street. So I go down there, and who answers the fucking door but Merle?
Wow.
Okay. Yeah, and there he was with his Hitler mustache and everything. I was like, oh, it's you.
That's funny, man.
Yeah. And I still have those videotapes in my closet. So it's funny, but yeah, I mean, you watch those clips on TV, the TV shows he did. He was real, man. He didn't give a fuck. I mean, and you watch the Geraldo one. Isn't Geraldo?
He's always a douche.
Just the stupid shit he says, like he goes, "Oh, I want to tell you about the name of Gigi's band. They're called the Murder Junkies Band. No, they're called the Murder Junkies, not the Murder Junkies Band, you fucking asshole." And he just has to say it that way to fucking, piss you off. If I was in the audience with GG, I would have been like, Geraldo, you're an asshole.
I know, but the people were like clapping for GG. Like he was just a guy that was there, man.
Yeah. Well, he had his fan club there. He had his group, but he would start doing spoken word shows in the late '80s, and he also began a friendship with serial killer John Wayne Gacy,
Yeah.
who was in jail. Okay, he actually went to visit him a few times in prison, and Gacy had painted a picture which became the album cover for the GG movie Hated. Okay, that would come out. It would be the soundtrack, the cover of the soundtrack, actually, album for that. Because Gacy, you ever see Gacy's paintings?
Yeah, I've seen a few. They were in one of the documentaries that's showing some of the paintings.
Clowns and all that.
You know that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're very, they're sought after. People paid a lot of money for these things, but they're like clowns and stuff like that. Real weird kind of.
Dude, he might have been the basis of it.
I always thought that. To be honest with you, that Stephen King was kind of channeling that a little bit or ripping it off.
Oh, he totally ripped off. This is pretty much it.
Yeah. True. I always got that impression. I wouldn't be surprised. But there is a funny thing. John Wayne Gacy, who's a massive serial killer, okay, he actually said that GG Allin was the smelliest fucking person he ever met in his life.
That's funny, man. They would talk about that. They would talk about how bad the van smells sometimes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, the guy never, took a shower. Could you imagine, like, he got shit all over himself, but then he doesn't get it off?
But the guy was so simple that he was like, I could put all my bologna in a bag, like in a brown bag.
Yeah, he lived very simply. That was one of the reasons he liked Hank Williams, because Hank Williams kind of had very little possessions and just toured around. And, that was a connection he had with Hank. But, yeah, I mean, Gigi was always on the move. So it wasn't like he was going to have a lot of belongings.
Yeah, it was funny. Like when they interviewed him, they would interview him in the with that hotel room. They would interview. A lot of that hotel room was the St. Mark's Hotel. A lot of people don't realize that.
I think I knew that. Yeah, I think in Hated, right?
He did. That was a lot of that shit was taped in New York,
Yeah, well, most of it was because that's where Todd Phillips was out of. I think he's the guy who made the documentary, and I think he's the one that sent a bus ticket to Gigi.
He did.
Hey, when you get out of jail, come here. Yeah,
dude, that documentary was great because I grew up in Hell's Kitchen to see they had like the old picture of the fucking bus terminal where it was like a cesspool.
Port Authority. Yeah. Yep, that's true. Yeah, you grew up around there, right? You see the bus coming in.
Holy shit, man.
Yeah. Now, as his shows got more increasingly violent, all right, they would get stopped by police, okay? And there would be rioting, fighting, bottles thrown around, damage to the clubs would happen when he would play. But he toured constantly, all right, and would be booked because I think that, if you're a small club, you bring in GG Allin, you're going to sell it out.
He was probably selling out, but he probably made no money. And the damage that the fucking club took, how much money did he take?
I can't imagine how it worked. He must have took that money up.
Or maybe he took half of the money and then he didn't get the rest.
Yeah, didn't get the rest. Yeah, maybe nobody would be stupid enough to give it all to him. I don't know. But, a lot of times that as he was touring, there would be incidences. He would get arrested for assault and battery sometimes at the shows. Indecent exposure was something that he was always getting in trouble for because he get naked. All right. And the drummer, Dino, would be naked.
He's
right?
another one. He'd be naked.
Yeah.
Dude, those guys still travel to this day. He still have people shove fucking drumstick up the guy's ass.
Well, Merle's in the Murder Junkies today. He still has the Murder Junkies, and they've put out a bunch of albums that are pretty good. And I think Dino plays with them still.
He does play with them.
Pretty sure. Yeah. So he's still doing the thing where he's naked. That was always something like Dino would get naked, be playing on the stool, and then he would get up, someone stick drumstick up his ass.
Oh my God,
It's crazy.
it's
Yeah.
amazing.
Now in 1989, GG was, I believe, interviewed in Maximum Rock and Roll magazine, and he said that he was going to kill himself on stage.
Yep.
All right, and that he would do it on Halloween, 1989, and that was going to be the end. So as it got closer to Halloween, I think there might have been shows booked, okay, but he ended up going to jail, all right, because of an incident. And what he had said was about the suicide. The quote is, "The suicide should be done at one's peak, okay, meeting the afterlife at one's strongest point, not its weakest." Now think about that.
That
That's
is
just
nuts,
nuts,
man.
right? Yeah, but when he was, what would happen is the following couple of Halloweens he was always in trouble, but there was always that Halloween show that you'd hear about. Oh, he's going to do it now. Or he used to say he was going to stick a stick of dynamite up his ass and blow it up on stage and kill everybody with him. Okay, and you know what? In the days of 30 years ago, in those days, I guess we believed it. I mean, I was like, I don't know if I want to go see him this time. You know what I mean? Because he might actually do it, But the jail time that was kind of related to the 1989 Halloween was something that had happened in Ann Arbor, Michigan. All right. Now, he was arrested for assault with intent to do great bodily harm that was less than murder. That was the
Is
actual
that when he
charge.
beat up the
And
girl, or was that in Boston?
it was a girl that he was with. Now, Gigi said it was consensual. It was a
Yeah.
sexual thing, but he denied the charges. Said she was a willing sexual participant, but then he admitted to cutting, burning her, and drinking her blood. But he also said that she did the same thing to him.
Dude, imagine writing that police report. You guys want to hear some shit?
I know. Yeah, I know. Now, the thing is there were certain inconsistencies in her story that she told the police that the judge actually, I mean, maybe today it would have been thrown out altogether, but he ended up getting like little over a year's time. He served from December 25th, 1989 to March 26th, 1991 in jail for that crime. Okay. During that time, he was excited to get out. I mean, he wanted to start playing again. He was writing. He actually was sort of upbeat, from what I understand. And he wrote something called the GG Allin
that
Manifesto.
shit was wild.
Yeah, and you could find this on YouTube and a few places if you want to look at it. It's just about how, he's the leader of rock and roll, and you have to believe in him, and he wants to bring danger back to rock and roll, and kill all the record company executives.
Yeah, steal.
Stuff,
don't pay for the album, steal the album, but pay for my album, but steal everybody else's album.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Don't let these people, don't let the MTV generation, like, he shitted on a lot of people. He even shit on Guns N' Roses. He even talked about the Ramones.
He shit on the Ramones. He just said
he
that
shit on Ramones. Yeah.
And you know what? When I heard that, I went, ooh, I said he was kind of right, because I remember when the Ramones were applauding Guns N' Roses, okay? And I thought that at the time, I was like, well, at least they're getting attention because the Guns N' Roses admitted they like the Ramones, but then there was like, this time when like Joey Ramone was talking about Guns N' Roses being the greatest thing all the time. And I remember going like, well, they're not that good. They're good, but
dude, didn't Dee Ramone play with this guy for a little bit?
Yeah. Dee did play. I don't think they ever played live.
I think he played one show live. He played with them like a week and quit.
Yeah. He was in the band like a week. And, I mean, Dee at that time, he was trying to clean up. The last thing you want to do is be with GG Allin. Yeah. Yeah, it was crazy. But now when he got out of jail in March of 91, He skipped parole. We talked about that a minute ago, and to go on tour. And all the footage from that tour would be for Todd Phillips' documentary called "Hated: GG Allin and the
Yep.
Murder Junkies." Um, there's the Space at Chase show, which is bar none now. You mentioned that they used the footage there. At that show, GG threw feces into the audience, beer bottles. There's also interviews with GG Allin in that documentary and others that are in his circle, fans, all kinds of people. Now, that came out in 1994. It's an hour-long documentary.
Yeah.
You can see it on YouTube if you don't have it. Now, later in 91, he would come out with a new album called Murder Junkies, and it was on New Rose Records. And he also played with a band called the Anti-Scene, and he would do some kind of like combinations at times of like, a song
Yeah.
and spoken word
So,
with the
Mike, let me
Anti-Scene.
ask this
All right.
question: when he played with these other
Yeah.
bands, was that where he was on his downtime, or was he doing multiple projects at the same time, or where one band was on downtime, he would just find this other band and start doing other projects?
All of the above. Okay, he would have multiple things going on at the same time. Sometimes projects would fall apart. He'd start another one, but he was prolific, man. I mean, look how much he recorded
Yeah.
in his life. Okay, considering how crazy shit was. Okay, there was also an album recorded at that time called "War in My
Yeah.
Head, I'm Your Enemy." And that was when he appeared on Geraldo, Jerry Springer, and Jane Whitney, like during that late 80s, early 90s period. Now, unfortunately, it would all come to, a crashing end here because on June 27th,
Well, before you get to that,
1993.
I wanted to ask you one question.
Yeah.
About the
Sure.
Boston thing when he was talking in some class when he was doing the spoken thing, and he talked about killing himself, and some girl say, "Why don't you kill yourself?" And he pretty much told the fucking
Yeah.
girl, "Why don't you come here and tell her in my face?"
Wasn't that the
No, that was
NYU kid?
the Boston because he winded up burning the fucking paper, and then he beats the living shit out of the girl.
Oh yeah, right.
Because
That
the
was in
NYU
Boston.
one was
Yes,
with the one that he's talking to the kids. He said, "Everybody, let's get naked." That he's calling them pussy. That he just start throwing shit at them.
Wow.
Well, he was a maniac, but that
Yeah.
thing, dude, that video is so like, dude, he fucks that girl up.
Oh yeah, it goes right
And
after
then the
her.
two
Yeah.
guys that try, but dude, he could take a beating.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he wasn't afraid to fight. He fought every day of his life.
And the other thing, there was that other guy. What was his name? Chicken John. He played for
Chicken
He
John.
got to the
Right.
point that he just said, "I couldn't do it no more." It was like, it got boring to me because it was like, we never got to finish a tour. We never got to finish. Like, he'd say we were 2-3 songs and we were done.
Yeah, I mean, how frustrating must that have
Yeah,
been, right?
you're there. You're a musician. Because even in the if you look at the one that Chase, dude, people are like jumping on Chase on stage trying to beat him up, and like the band's trying to play, and shit. It's a fucking chaotic situation, man.
Yeah, he was throwing the mic stand around. I remember him, there really wasn't a stage
No.
there in the back of that bar. Just that spot where the bands would set
crazy.
up. And remember when we went to that little get together when Zach had passed away? Okay, and we were back there in the corner. That's where I was. Okay, but I was standing. I don't know if they didn't have.
Oh no, those
furniture
moves
back
was
there
added like 5 years ago.
Yeah, those weren't there. But I was in kind of that corner, which he never attacked. He just kind of went to his left, was hitting everybody on the left side, looking out from the stage, the bar side, close to the door. And yeah, it was fucking crazy. I mean, I'll never forget that. And that was the second time I seen him. First time I ever saw him was at Lismore Lounge a couple years earlier, and that was a crazy show too. So yeah. I mean, now, like I said, all of this would come to an end because on June 27th, 1993, he would play his last gig and it was at a club called the Gas Station on East 2nd Street in the city. After 2 songs of this, the power was cut. Okay, they cut the power to the club, and in reaction to that, Gigi trashed the place. Okay, now I've mentioned before I was going to go to that show, but I just was like, nah, fuck it, I don't want to fucking deal with him, and I didn't go. But it turned out to be his last because after he trashed the place, he ran out into the street with all the fans, and he was running down Houston Street covered in shit and blood. Okay, and followed all that by his fans. Now, when that
That
was
was
done, that
crazy,
whole
dude.
video,
He's like throwing
he
shit in
was
the middle. He's throwing shit at buses. Holy shit.
yeah. I mean, he was just like yelling, lashing out at people. It was like in the late evening that night, and he would then, after everything calmed down, go to a friend's apartment that night, and he overdosed on heroin, and that was it. And he was found the next morning, and from what I understood, like at first, like people were just hanging around. They
Nah,
didn't
they
even know he
didn't,
was
dude.
dead.
You have you seen the fucking when they do his wake? He didn't even get like a mortician to do anything. They just left him as he is. He was all bloated and well,
Yeah, that was at Merle's
holy
request,
shit.
apparently. Yeah, like they didn't give him any makeup or anything on his face to make him look better. But the funeral will be held on July 3rd, 1993, in the St. Rose Cemetery in Littleton, New Hampshire. And he was buried with a bottle of Jim
Yeah.
Beam in his hand. Okay, and he had a pair of headphones that Merle would put on his head, and it had like I think the latest GG album on. It was like a Walkman
Yeah, it
type
was a
thing.
this man.
And they had a
Yeah.
party. It turned into a party. Now, take it for what it is. He went out the way he lived. You know what I mean? I can respect that in a way. Unfortunately, what's happened over the years is that where he's buried, the grave's been desecrated many times. Okay, people go there, they piss on the tombstone, they shit on it. Okay, and they just think that that's they take pictures in front of it and do stupid shit. It's been
Oh my
knocked
god,
over
people were
many
getting on
times.
top and
So
peeing and shit on it. Dude, there's one point they show Merle just break a guitar on some motherfucker's head.
yeah, that's in that
He
new
tried to get them
documentary.
away from it to the point that they just the people in the grave, the people in that graveyard, they took the fucking tombstone and put it inside the church, stole it
The
in the
stone,
basement somewhere.
yeah, the stone has been removed because so many people go there now to, you know, do that. And what's kind of fucked up is that most of these people
Oh no.
never even saw Gigi live. It's been 30 years, man. 27 years. So you're telling me that you're doing that? You didn't
Nah.
even know what he was about? I don't get it.
It's called people that
I don't get
people are followers, people that are cheap. They need this guy as their leader, and let's go shit on his grave, which is like holy shit, man. It was
it. Yeah,
unbelievable.
I
They were
know.
showing,
I
dude.
know.
You know what's crazy? You seen the one in the Hated documentary when the guy that's making the movie get a girl to pee in his fucking mouth?
Yeah, I know. It was supposed to be a hooker or something, but they got a friend instead, and she just like squatted over him and peed
And then he,
in his face.
oh,
And
and
then he
then she
throws up.
pees on him again. Oh my god. Dude, it was
Oh, it
brutal.
was
I'm
terrible.
watching
Let me
this. And
tell
you know
you,
what's funny? At first, the guy gives the girl's name, and then he's all cut. Let's do this over.
yeah.
And he still left
Oh
it
yeah,
in the
yeah,
documentary.
yeah. But he left it in there. Like what?
I'm like, what the fuck?
I remember that. Oh,
dude.
yeah. Like, I think her name's like Jen. Her
Yeah,
name's like
Jennifer
Jenny or
something.
something. Like, oh, I
Dude,
shouldn't
but
say
it's
her
so
name.
funny,
Yeah,
man.
yeah. I know, but he leaves it
What
in there.
what was
But
what was the deal with him
go
with
ahead.
the shit? He would take a shower and shit. He was shitting. He either threw the shit or he would put it all over. And the thing with him mutilating himself, like cutting himself up, holy shit.
Yeah. It's just everything to the extreme. That's what he was. People have made, right? Remember, people have made paintings like, remember that there was that one years ago. It was like a picture of the Virgin Mary made out of like
Yeah.
elephant shit or something. or like people crucifix dipped in urine, like stuff like that. I mean, people just they take these things to different levels. But Gigi took a punk show, rock and roll show, to that level. Like it's just nuts. Like he's the only person to ever do anything like that. Okay, it's not that we need another one. We don't need another GG Allin, but at the same time, you got to look at that and go like, what kind of crazy fucking shit went into that? You know what I mean? Literally shit. I mean, what went into that? Like I gotta, in a way, I think the band needs to get a fucking medal for just like playing with them and dealing with that. I don't know. It's just crazy. But let me ask you a question now. And I'm not sure if I can answer it, but maybe you can. Like, what would you think is the legacy that he has?
You know what, the legacy he's had? He was like the fucking prince of the misfits. If you were lonely and hated people, this was the guy for you, man. Like, follow Gigi, because Gigi can show you the path. I'm gonna live this fucking reckless, tough, real rough life. I'm gonna do drugs and shit in my pants and just go berserk, and you guys are gonna follow me.
I mean, if you look at everything punk rock was supposed to be, and in some ways it failed in this, but in some ways it didn't. And what I mean is, you kind of take everything that's shitty about your life and make it into something. Okay, like look at the Ramones, for example. Could you picture Joey Ramone doing anything but performing live with the Ramones? Could he be a banker? Could he be could he work in an office? No. Okay. So you take everything that's totally shitty about your life, and GG Allin had a hard life. He had a hard childhood. Okay, and just that's the stuff that we know about. Okay, there's probably a million things we don't. Okay, and his brother knows.
You know what the problem? He never had a chance.
Well, never had a chance. Well, I don't think he wanted the fucking chance. I think he wanted everything on his terms.
And
and he took it.
I'm just amazed by, like, if I was a club owner and this lunatic dude, I would have got a chainsaw. I would have killed him.
Yeah, well, I'm sure things like that happened. Club owner beat the shit out of him. I'm sure happened. But look, I mean, you had to know what you were getting into if you were going to book GG Allin.
Yeah,
you had to
fuck. Holy shit.
We need to ask Bob about that. That would have been, we should have done that before. How's he doing anyway?
He's back in Bar None. He's back in the city. He just got here yesterday. Next time, I want to ask you a quick question. Well, he also had a daughter in 1986, Nicole. And the mother talks about how, that pretty much the family cut him out. He never saw the daughter, and the grandmother never saw the daughter, his mother.
Well, I think the grandmother was involved.
Yeah, the first 3 years, and then that's it.
Yeah, and she was always trying to find out about her, and it looks like the mother didn't want anything to do with Gigi or his family.
It was like, no way. Yeah,
that's kind of sad. Yeah, he had that one girl, and you see that in that documentary. The mother is like very sad that she never got to know the kid. And, the mother passed away, right? Yeah, and that the documentary was 2018.
Yeah,
so he died right after.
Here's another thing I want to bring up. They showed in the new documentary, they showed the brother doing a painting. Like, he shits, then he grabs like gloves and he does this whole painting with shit.
Merle, if you watch this documentary, you could see how big Gigi is.
It's amazing.
Okay, because he gets constant messages from people that want stuff, and he'll do a painting and mix shit in the painting and mail it to you, and other GG stuff that he's created. He's very talented. He sells merchandise. That's how Merle gets by. You know what I mean? And there's people all over the world that want this stuff. They want a specialized GG Allin shirt, or I think he even makes sneakers and fucking
Yeah, he makes
shorts and all
everything,
kinds
man.
of
He
stuff.
make fucking refrigerator
Yeah,
decons,
posters
everything.
and right, refrigerator magnets, all kinds of stuff. I mean, all this stuff that Gigi probably could have made $1 million on back in the day, but there was nobody that was gonna,
Yeah,
put that stuff out then. Okay, but now, it's you can make a buck on that, so he's doing it. The documentary shows people
yeah. Dude, he
ordering
even
things.
took
Remember?
some of Dino's
Yeah,
drumstick and he signed them. Yeah.
yeah. After they were in his ass.
Oh man.
You could smell it and
Yeah,
know it's real.
it's amazing, man. Let
Oh
me tell you,
man.
this guy was definitely something out of this world. He was definitely a special fucking person.
Yeah. Yeah, but I just wanted to emphasize again, like it's when the spirit of punk was taking what's shitty in your life and making it something out of it, and that would be Gigi
Yeah.
that would be on steroids. You know what I'm saying? When it came to Gigi,
You know
that's
what you
how
can
I
say?
look
He
at
was definitely a guy that great recording. He does great recording. He was good. Like he got bashed out by the critics because he did shitty production. But then his later on shit where he actually went into the studio, he could actually take out an album, actually sing. But he was live performance. Fuck no.
Well, his voice deteriorated
Yeah,
later on, but the first album,
yeah.
his vocals are pretty good. I like him. I actually listened to it today for the first time in a while. That song "Ass
Yeah.
Face" is hilarious. I love that one. But a lot of people don't even know about that part of GG Allin's career. The music was a little more straight ahead punk, even a little power pop, but the later stuff was all just nihilistic with him screaming and talking about shitting on people and sticking a needle in his dick and stuff like that. But it's look,
Yeah.
what can I
You know
say?
what? A
There's
show
only
like
one
that would not
GG Allin.
fly today. That shit would get canceled in 2 seconds.
No.
Yeah.
It barely flew
But
then.
imagine somebody doing that,
Barely
getting
flew.
naked and just start throwing shit today. The cops might kill you.
I mean, I guess you'd get it'd kill you, I guess. So I don't know. Maybe somebody will try it one day.
Wow, man.
I don't know. Listen, when after this virus, when the Lower East Side falls apart and becomes shitty again, okay, you never know. A club might open up and we'll have some crazy shit happen.
Maybe you're right, man.
Maybe some of these businesses, they'll give us a space we could open a fucking club.
So, Mike, thank you for another great, entertaining episode of the Rock Show. This is 69. And the next episode you're gonna hear is 70. I mean, the next episode is 69. This is 68, and we're doing Merle Haggard.
Merle Haggard, yeah, country artist, outlaw country guy. Gigi would have loved him. I'm sure he did. Yeah, I mean, he's an interesting guy, an interesting
All right,
life,
so with that, don't get drunk, get lumped up. We'll see you next time.
Lumped up.